Well, it is that time of the year, guys. Shohei Ohtani, could he potentially get moved? What would the trade package look like? There is a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to an Ohtani potential trade. The first few things I want to talk about right now, Ohtani having an amazing season, hitting, pitching. He is the most valuable player in baseball right now, according to the trade value site that I use. So even though he only has, like 4 months at this point left on his contract, he still is insanely valuable. Like the Angels, if they actually do trade him, they're probably getting back, I'd say, 2 elite prospects. The other factor is, will the Angels actually move him? Right now, they're virtually in no man's land, sitting at 22-20. They're 3.5 games back in the West. I think a lot of people aren't expecting the Angels to win the West. Looking at the wild card, they are 1.5 games back. So the Angels, you look at it from one or two ways. Number one, I would be very surprised if Shohei Ohtani, no matter what happens, unless the Angels win the World Series, I'd be very surprised if Ohtani re-signs. I think he looks at that organization, he values winning, and that's an organization that's sunk in a bunch of money into Rendon. Mike Trout is still really elite, but he always gets injured, and that contract is probably not going to look good in 4 or 5 years. Trout's, I'm guessing, going to be mainly a left fielder, maybe even a DH, and then that kind of complicates the whole situation with Ohtani DHing, 5 nights and then pitching the 6th night. What will happen there? I'm sure if Ohtani was not on the roster, Mike Trout would be DHing a lot more to prevent injury. So it's just kind of a weird roster right now with the Angels. Ohtani values winning, and we saw with the World Baseball Classic, he said he wants to win. I'd be very surprised unless the Angels somehow at least made the World Series or won the World Series. I believe even if they went to the ALCS, he would still leave. Just because the organization, it's just kind of a mess with the Angels. So if you are LA, do you say, screw it, we're just going to keep Ohtani, he's too valuable, we're going to try and re-sign him, we're going to make our best shot, if we lose him, it sucks, but whatever? Or do you bite the bullet, you say, we want to get back 2 super elite prospects, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at some of the trade packages, teams that I think could trade for Ohtani. The Tampa Bay Rays, I'll explain when we get there, but I do think the Tampa Bay Rays might decide to go all in this year. A team like Texas, it's possible, based on them starting off really well, if it's, the trade deadline late July and they're still in first place, the contracts that they have, even if Ohtani is just a half-season rental, you're getting so much more than just a two-way player. You are becoming the talk of the MLB if you trade for Shohei Ohtani. That probably elevates Ohtani's value even more. Other teams I could see trading for him, Toronto, but I don't think they have the prospects. The Yankees, it's going to be hard, but we'll see. I think the Yankees would try and trade for him, but they could be another team that just gets outbid if they don't want to give up Volpe. Houston, I don't see it. Boston is a team I'm watching for Ohtani, even if it's a rental. They've been pretty good this year, but they have lost 4 games in a row, so maybe they would be interested in it. And the other thing, when you trade for Ohtani, it's also like an audition for you. Going into the offseason, showing Ohtani, it's like the team that trades for him will automatically have a leg up on everyone else because they'll have 2 months to form a relationship with him. He'll be playing his home games there. There's several teams in the NL, most notably the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are going to move everything for Ohtani. I mean, the writing is on the wall with the Dodgers. They half-assed the offseason. They saved a bunch of money. It's no coincidence that the year before the biggest free agent in recent memory goes on the market, the Dodgers don't spend a dollar, or at least compared to what they normally do, they didn't spend anything. They're saving up for Ohtani. They'd go all out for him, I'm sure, at the deadline if he did become available. And this is the site that I normally use. So when we're trying to formulate these mock trades, it's very hard, mainly because people don't know the value of prospects. And this site, I believe it's called MLB Trade Values. This is the site I used last year. It's just pretty good, looking at what you could potentially get. This is Shohei Ohtani's value at 67, which is just ridiculous for only having like half a year left on your contract. I mean, no one has that much value unless you've got multiple years on, so it's just crazy that Ohtani is worth 67. And you can see this would be a mock trade between the Dodgers and the Angels, with the Angels getting two elite prospects back, Michael Busch and Bobby Miller. That's the type of that's the type of package you would expect for a guy like Ohtani, even with the current contract situation not being ideal. If the Angels do go on a losing streak and it looks like, they're 5 or 6 games out in the wild card, maybe Houston gets hot, maybe the Rangers keep winning, it's looking more and more likely like they're going to miss the playoffs. Would you bite the bullet? Because let me just tell you this right now, all the Angels fans, if you guys miss the playoffs, there is a 0.000% chance that Ohtani is resigning. Just none. This would potentially be the Rays going all out. They've gotten off to that historic start. They're right now in the midst of trying to fund a new stadium, possibly right across the street from Tropicana Field, trading for Ohtani. This would just be a rental. There's just no way you're going to re-sign Ohtani. The Dodgers actually have even more of an incentive to overpay for him, because the Dodgers, think about it, if you're the Dodgers, the motivation, Ohtani has already shown a likeness to LA, considering he chose the Angels like 4 or 5 years ago when he came over from Japan, so he already likes the lifestyle. You get him in, give up your entire farm system, do whatever you have to do, because if you get a 2 months head start on everyone else and you have more money than everyone else, it's game over. You can already form a relationship with him, as opposed to a team like the Rays. This would just be going all out, saying, screw it. We made the World Series back in 2020 in the shortened year. Now we want to win the thing. There's zero chance we'll be resigning Ohtani. He's going to be worth $500 million, but it would still, just create so much fan engagement. It might be worth it, considering their current situation, possibly having to leave Tampa Bay because they can't get a stadium, or I guess St. Petersburg because they can't get a stadium. That would be big for them. There's a few different ones. If I'm the Angels, I'm not interested in Drew Rasmussen with that injury he had. Carson Williams is a really good prospect. Taylor Walls has kind of been hitting. He might be a super utility type player, but yeah, if I'm the Angels, I would not consider a package like that. And then you can see the Rays fans, I guess, downvoting it. They're not interested in getting a half a year of Ohtani. Yeah, that's normally not what the Rays do. They will not give up young players that have multiple years of being very cheap for a player that only has 2 months remaining. This is another trade with the Dodgers giving up their elite catching prospect and then another elite prospect. So I'm thinking right now the value for Ohtani is 2 elite prospects, or at the minimum 1 elite prospect and then 2, I would say top 75 guys. The 1 elite prospect would be like a top 30 prospect, or someone that has a value of like 40 or 50, right along the lines of that. This would be the Yankees. I just don't think the Yankees have a deep enough farm system without including Volpe to make a trade like this happen. Peraza is interesting. If I was the Angels, though, I would be very underwhelmed with this. Clark Schmidt has been terrible this year. Cabrera can't hit major league pitching. Maybe he develops into a super utility guy, but that's just not enough if I am the Angels. I think they could get a better offer than that. This is a trade with the Rays. Yeah, I would not trade for Glasnow. Glasnow, to me, it says he's worth 23 there. I don't see that. Glasnow just gets injured too much. Glasnow is like Jacob deGrom 2.0. He's a superstar when he's healthy. He's just literally never healthy. Legitimately never healthy. It's crazy with some of these pitchers. Once they get injury prone, they just can't get rid of it. So, yeah, if I'm the Angels, I would not want Glasnow if I'm doing a rebuild. The Marlins, why would the Marlins trade? Some of these are fun, though. The Marlins trading for Ohtani, the Angels getting back a decent prospect package. They also got Trevor Rogers coming back. This trade wouldn't make sense for either of these teams. How about Joe Adell? Joe Adell going to the Marlins as well. He's still got 2.5 in terms of value. The Pirates going all out for Ohtani. Zero chance this happens. If you're the Pirates, that would be so dumb. They've had a nice start to the year, but they're not even going to make the playoffs. I would say they're ahead of schedule, but they've kind of had such a bad rebuild at this point because their owner is so cheap that I just feel like they're trying to get as many young players as possible, playing well on cheap contracts, and there's no way they would give up 3 of their best young players that they plan on building around for Ohtani, 2 months of Ohtani. The Cardinals, so this was a fun one last year. This year, it's probably more unlikely. I will say if I am the Cardinals, I would trade Jordan Walker today. I mean, Jordan Walker, in my opinion, is going to be one of the biggest busts recently. Everything about him screams bust. He looks like he's 50 years old. He's got a slow, long swing. He can't play the field. I mean, I think Jordan Walker by next year, people are going to be like, I would trade him immediately if I was the Cardinals. So yes, if I'm the Cardinals, even if you're not in contention, you could try and trade for Ohtani as a way to say, look, we're going to get a 2-month start on everyone else, but I don't know if it's within their budget for the Cardinals to go after Ohtani. You've already got Arenado, Goldschmidt on bigger deals. That would be an interesting one, though. If the Cardinals start playing better, maybe they get back in the wild card hunt, I would 1000% trade Jordan Walker right now. That dude is going to be a bust. Get rid of him before he loses all of his value. And if I'm the Angels, I am not touching this trade at all. At all. Next, we've got the Padres. The Padres want Ohtani. All right, so come on with this. We've got the Padres getting Ohtani and Trout and giving up Juan Soto. So now the Padres have Ohtani, Trout, Machado, and Bogarts in their lineup. And they're giving up their top shortstop prospect. They're giving up Blake Snell as well. So yeah, this is just not going to happen. But I do think it gets interesting. If Ohtani gets traded at the deadline, what does that mean for Mike Trout? And if you are Mike Trout, you really have to consider just demanding a trade. I mean, you got to get to the playoffs at some point. I didn't realize Patrick Sandoval has that much value. Holy crap. You got to like that if you're the Angels. Wow. This one, so apparently now you can trade the competitive balance round 1 picks. So like this would be pick number 37 overall going to the Angels, along with 1 super prospect and then 2 decent pitching prospects just for Ohtani. Yeah, if I'm the Rays, this is just not their style. But listen, if you're the Angels, you get like pick number 37 back. I wish you could just trade picks in general in the MLB. They should really make that a rule. That would be cool to see. It would really add another element of it. This is the Red Sox going all out for Ohtani, and this would really be an investment because, you didn't do the Bogarts deal. Maybe you've got some money, although they did give Trevor Story that horrible contract, but maybe you've got money, to go along with Devers. You want to get Ohtani, get him in for 2 months, pitch him, and then try and re-sign him in the offseason. If I'm the Angels, I am not interested in trading with the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox young players are extremely overrated. That's just my personal opinion, so I would just hang up the phone. This one for the Padres, yeah, this is realistic. Ohtani and Trout. So now the lineup would be Ohtani, Trout, Machado, Bogarts, and Soto. That's the top 5 in the order for the Padres if they make this trade, and they're giving up all their prospects. That catching prospect, that the 16-year-old kid that played in the spring training game, he would be involved in this deal. I mean, that's a pretty good package, but there's no way I'm doing this if I'm the Angels. There's no way I'm packaging Ohtani and Trout together. I would trade them in separate packages to completely rebuild my farm system. I'm not trading both of those guys as a package. Next, it is the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays just gave up too much for Dalton Varsho. So they don't have a ton left in terms of minor league talent. But would the Blue Jays make a pitch for Ohtani? I'm guessing it's probably a really long shot. And then these were just featured trades. Yeah, if I'm the Tigers, I am doing whatever I can to trade Eduardo Rodriguez ASAP. That was not a good contract they gave Eduardo Rodriguez. He has started off the year really well. Trade him immediately before he loses value, because he will lose value with that contract. If I'm the Tigers, I'm trading him. But so, guys, when it comes to the Ohtani sweepstakes, if the Angels fall out of contention or they're like 5 games back in the wild card, I see the Dodgers being a team. They would have to be the number 1 team that would be motivated to trade for him. Another team that might be interested, this would be a pure rental, but maybe the Rays. The Rays might do it just to really get some more fan engagement, and maybe they'd start selling out games at the Trop. The Cardinals would have to really get back into things for an Ohtani trade to happen. I don't see with the Padres. I mean, there's no way they could afford him. Honestly, the Padres, to me, that Xander Bogaerts contract is really strange. I understand Xander Bogaerts is good, but why would you give a shortstop who's already declining in terms of range a 10-year, decade-long contract? That just doesn't make sense to me. I would have stayed out of Bogaerts', I just would have left Bogaerts alone, saved that money, and then maybe traded for Ohtani and then tried to re-sign Ohtani. But, the Padres, I don't see them involved. The Red Sox, maybe, but it's probably a long shot. The Blue Jays, maybe. The Yankees, I just don't think they have enough to trade for him. And I don't really know how much Ohtani would want to stay in New York. Part of the motivation of trading for Ohtani is you get a head start and you get to pitch him on re-signing. That's going to go into it. That's why I think the Dodgers would give up a lot more, because they could pitch him about re-signing. But this is an interesting conversation. We'll have to see how well the Angels play over the next few months. That is going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.